Well, welcome back to the channel, everyone, and it is another live match. And today we are heading to the Glebe Fishery. The Glebe is one of my favourite venues of all time. It's a fantastic place. I don't go anywhere near enough, but it is a fantastic fishery. And especially this match, every year we fish the David Orr Memorial. I've filmed this match quite a few times for this channel, and it's just one of those events that I'm not going to lie, I'm desperate to win. David Orr played a big part of my life. Before he sadly passed away, he was I don't know, like a real, just someone to really look up to. We had some great times. Used to go for me and Tom used to go around there for a pint with him. Just a great bloke, great person to chat to, full of experience in life and business. He was just a great person to be around, and obviously gave me my start in the fishing industry. So brilliant guy who I love to go to this match and obviously pay our respects to every single year. And it's just a great event. And I think there was 50 people on it this time. So a great turnout. We raised a bit of cash for charity, but everyone's really trying their best to win this match because it's just a great day out, a great occasion. So I just love being there. I love being on this match. Into the draw bag we went. I'm just going to go straight into it. Into the draw bag we went, and outcome peg 72. Now, I've been second in this match many times. I have actually come second on this very peg before. However, as we were filming this, we were having like a mini heat wave. I mean, the weather's still great as I record this now, but we're having this mini heat wave and fish were starting to sort of look to spawn. And I just, when you drive into a venue, you're thinking this is going to be one of them days where they're not really feeding. Not saying that we're not going to catch some fish, because we will, but I was sort of thinking, well, it could be a bit of a tough one, this. How's that for a physique? Look at that. What a man. Fine specimen.
Half the man I was.
Half the man I was. In terms of the normal tactics, you think about going to the Glebe, you think about maybe chucking a feeder across, long pole shallow, margins and short pole, all that kind of thing. Whereas I was actually thinking I could be like mugging fish for 5 hours here today. So that was what I was going with. And I got to peg 72 and there was a little delicate breeze into me, but there looked like there were fish everywhere. I'm not going to say I was on a big pile of fish, probably like some of the corner swims were, but there were plenty of fish about, kicking around, big groups of them swimming around, all around the lake, to be fair. And I thought, that's made my mind up. I'm pretty much going to fish out and out, mugging and waggler mugging as well today. That was all that was on my mind as soon as I got to my peg. Now, peg 72, I say it's about 5 or 6 pegs from the corner. I think it's 5 pegs from the corner. I forget. Anyway, it's not in the corner. It's just past the middle of the lake. So, ideal place to be. I wouldn't say it was ever like a match-winning peg as per. It's not one of the ones at the Glebe where you pull it out and you're like, oh, I can't wait to get there, like something like 86 or peg 1 or peg 30. Well, not one of them pegs, but it's not bad and neither. It's one of them that's just like steady away. I wasn't unhappy. Kind of felt like I wouldn't be winning. That was one thing I was thinking. But as soon as I got there, I'm seeing all these fish about. I'm thinking, bit of luck here. You never know. To my left, I had Rick Tyler from Hotbox, and I had Andy Annat to my right, a fellow guy from Knaresborough who I've never actually met Andy before, but it was great to meet him. He runs some great matches up on like Swinstead Reservoir and a lot of the northern natural venues, so great to sort of chat to Andy. Obviously, people come from Knaresborough, you don't bump into them very often because it's only a small town, so it was really nice that. Like I say, my whole approach was going to be about mugging, I felt like. I set a few different rigs up. I set up a 4x10 and a 4x... No, yeah, I set up two 4x10 big head floats. One with a long line, like a metre a line. I set up one a little bit deeper with like a 2 foot line to fish conventionally shallow, because I did fancy putting a bit of bait in at some point in the day. So they were my two not like big head rigs. I set up a 0.3 clunk, which is a weighted float which allows you to cast out really nicely on the pole, with a much longer line, sort of 2 meters, allowed me to sort of really swing accurately at them fish. So we set 2 waggler rods up as well, both with water wagglers. I think them water wagglers are absolutely fantastic, both loaded with 5 pound detection, 11-foot waggler rods. I use the Monster X waggler rods, beautiful rods. And then I've got to be honest, I set up a little diddy water waggler. Terry Winston makes them. A chap who fishes at Boddington an awful lot. He makes just a standard water wags that you've probably all seen and love. But he also makes these bigger, chunkier ones, which look I'd never used them before, but they looked perfect for the Glebe. You've got a 20 to probably 25 to 30 metre chuck on most pegs at the Glebe. Some cases even further. And having these big fat water wagglers, honestly, it's like chucking a bomb. Like you chuck a normal waggler, don't you? Even them big balsas, and they veer off to one side. But honestly, them big chunky water wagglers are an absolute game changer for fishing tight to the far bank. So I set one of them up. And then I also set up quite a few other pole rigs. I set up a short pole, sort of 4 meters. I actually plumbed up in 4 foot because it was so hot. I felt like anything in deep water just probably wasn't going to be an option today. I set up a rig in 4 foot, and I set up a margin rig, and I also set up a bomb and pellet because I felt like if that mugging and mugging waggler didn't come in, I could ping a few pellets across and maybe pick an odd one off on the bomb and pellet. So that was kind of my whole approach. I'd got some leftover casters and maggots from the commercial national, so I had them to put in. I was going to feed them down the edge. But my whole mindset was mugging. I've got to be honest. I was just sat there thinking, the only way I'm going to win today is to have a really good match mugging, and that was like all my thoughts. I set up the other kit, of course I did, but I was thinking it could be one of them days where I'm literally mugging for 5 hours, and to be honest, that's how it turned out. So anyway, the match kicked off, and I put my glasses on, my little Polaroids, and I was just looking for fish straight away. And as is always the case, a bit of ripple comes on like it always does. But there were some fish within distance pole range. So I've got my little 4x10 big head. Now, the reason I set up a 4x10 big head and a clunk, for instance, the 2 different floats, even though the rig's essentially the same, I'm still fishing the same 12 inches deep. I'm still fishing the same hook bait. It's just that sometimes the fish want a really delicate, like a little tiny noise on the surface, like a little fairy landing on the surface of the lake. Whereas other days they quite like a bit of a plop. And I find having the 2 set up, the clunk, which makes a bit more of a plop, more like a big pellet going in, I suppose, an 8mm pellet. Whereas, like I said, the 4x10 big head barely makes any noise at all, but still gives me the buoyancy to support a big pellet. So that's the reason I set the both up. And I tend to find if they're a bit spooky, that light float can really score. So anyway, I set off on that, and it took me like 2 seconds to catch my first fish. You know, I looked round, and I mugged one straight away. And the first 40 minutes of this match was just a blur, picking them off between pole, waggler, that little water waggler. I was just working the swim, and every single fish, as long as my caster was good or my flick was good, if I could get it near one, they were taking it. I was just using like a red pellet on the hook, nothing special, just the standard 6mm red pellet. And honestly, every fish I was like, oh my God, I'm going to catch 300 pounds today, because there was plenty of fish about, and every single one I was getting at, within reason, was taking it. And I think I caught 8 carp in like literally no time. Well, you don't need me to tell you. Have a watch of this footage and just to show you how much of a racing start we got off to. intended.
Huh?
Intended species?
Oh.
Yeah,
It's coming in, I think it could be.
Yeah, look. We like to see.
No, I'll be happy if I get a few of these. That's my deal.
Plenty in here. How many hook clamps you brought with you?
Plenty of them.
Gonna need them. So with that happened, I'm genuinely thinking this is my day. I'm finally gonna get my name on that trophy. Thought this is the day that, because like, to get off to a great start like that obviously gets you into the match without, I've not even fed anything really. You know, I'm just literally just mugging them, and then all of a sudden something changed. And I remember I literally went to mug one and it was a dead cert, like it would have been a dead cert 10 minutes earlier. Flicked the rig in front of it and it turned away. And then I did it again and it turned away. And then I cast a waggler at a group of them and they just totally ignored it. And normally I always find if you can get in front of, when they're up for it, when you can get it in front of two, three, four fish, a little group of fish, if you get your float near it, one of them will take it just because of the competition. And then all of a sudden that wasn't happening. And I found this quite a lot at spawning time. Like they'll have a little go and then brain chemistry kicks in and they all they want to know about is spawning, and there can be millions in front of you, hundreds in front of you, and they're just not interested. And that signalled like the most frustrating couple of hours. You know, I've got off to this amazing start, and then all of a sudden, just like that, they decided they were not even contemplating feeding anymore. Not that they're feeding anyway, but what happens when you're mugging? You sort of see their attitude change. Like you'll plop your little float in, and they'll come and have a look at the float and have a look at the pellet. But then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, something changes in their behaviour, and something changes in the behaviour, and they're just not interested anymore. And it tends to coincide in the middle of the day when it's the days at the hottest, and they're just not feeding. And this is what happened. And I tried all sorts. I tried different pellets, bunches of maggots. I even tried a worm head because I thought, well, worms are good. Nothing. Nothing. I couldn't mug them on anything. I could get my float near them, but they just were not interested. Quick phone call to Jake Fowles, Dan Webb. I can't remember who else I spoke to who was fishing. They were reporting exactly the same on the other lakes. And it was just literally all about picking them off. No one was really catching at this point on my lake anyway, Lake 4. And I was just thinking, I've just got to hang in there. And I'm surely going to just pick enough off to sort of get somewhere near after my such a great start. But to be honest, I went most of the middle match were catching very few fish. There was nothing feeding on the bottom. I never had a sign. I chucked the bomb out. Never had a sign on that. Tried short pole. Never had a sign on that. I was throwing casters in the margins, thinking, well, I'll back up my cart with some skimmers because a lot of skimmers in that lake. I caught 3 really quick, nice ones. But straight away they were gone as well. Like the quick 3 fish and then nothing. And it was just one of them really frustrating days. There was no end of fish in front of us all, to be fair, on Lake 4. They were cruising everywhere, but they just had other things on their mind. They just were not interested in feeding at all. And then, as is often the case, as I mentioned, just like when you're fishing normal, they have to sort of get interested at some point. And all of a sudden, they're not swimming around in the massive groups anymore. They've sort of broken off into the cart. They're just breaking off into smaller groups. Their attitudes change, you can tell, and I started to pick them off again. By this point, I decided to gamble and feed casters on my long pole because I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to catch on casters in the edge. You can just tell. I hate that. I hate when people say you can just tell, but you could just tell that they weren't going to come in the edge. I'd fed the edge by this point, and we were talking 2 hours to go, but you can sort of just get a feeling that it's going to be one of them days where it's not going to happen. There was very little wind blowing into the margins, and I'm thinking that is the last place that they're going to come, and I had no faith in that ever gonna like produce. So I sort of felt like I'm just out and out mugging and hopefully maybe creating a bit of a shallow area. So I gambled. I started absolutely levering casters in, these leftover casters that I had. Started levering them in at about 13 meters. And to be honest, an odd fish came and turned around in them, but not many, not really. I caught 2 and a bream, I think, in my bait. Apart from that, it was just creating a bit of an area, is what I would say. A bit of interest, and the fish were coming closer. Whereas throughout the match, they were sort of past my pole line. I was having to chuck a waggler at them. Definitely feeding them casters brought them into range, even though they weren't in the casters feeding. It brought them into range, and I thought that was quite interesting. baby making mode activated, isn't it? I don't necessarily. I think if I'd have fed pellets there, it would have been the same. I think there was just a bit of noise and a bit of something going on that was gaining their interest, really. Like I say, it wasn't like you used to back in the day. You used to be able to loose feed casters at the Glebe and get a big response. You get loads of carp in your peg. Doesn't seem to happen so much now, for whatever reason. Especially on this day when they're not really feeding. So really, it was just about swapping between my two mugging rigs and that little waggler. I tried chucking a waggler tight to the island, well, the far bank, and never really caught anything on that, which has been a banker method. Sam Collett did tell me it's a bit shallow there for that method, but it's worth setting up. In hindsight, I might have been better off chucking a feeder actually, because Rick did catch some fish on a feeder next to me, fishing tight across with a feeder. But I've wasted a few matches at the Glebe fishing feeder, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do it this time. Anyway, the last hour was quite good. Started mugging them quite regularly again. Not as good as that first little spell, but I was, catching them. And I felt like at the end I'd got to sort of £110, all mugged, apart from them two fish in my bait and a couple of skimmers in the margins. I ended up weighing £127, which quite comfortably won the lake. I think £90 was second on the lake. So probably a good weight really for the situation and the lake. Like I say, it's rarely a winner, that lake, apart from maybe one of the MPEGs. So I was pretty pleased with that. But after that rocketing start, I sort of, like I say, I felt like this was the year when I was going to get my name on that trophy. So it was a bit of a shame that wasn't the case. But nevertheless, it is what it is, and I was quite happy to take home a bit of money for the late win. So that was really good. But ultimately, the match is all about winning the trophy, and it was actually John Arthur who, just like me, was an editor of magazines back at DHP. He was there probably a bit longer than I was, and actually had a great career at DHP. So I think it's great that John won it, because he obviously has a great past at DHP as well. Tom's obviously won it, who was another editor. And it's just me really now. Oh, Jake's won it. Jake's won it as well. Jake was an editor at DHP. There's only really me left. Oh, and Alex. I don't think Alex has won it as well. So it's always really me and Alex left that needs to win it, and I've been second 3 or 4 times. So it's so frustrating. But anyway, that is what it is. We had a great day. It's just like I say, it's one of them days where, although the fishing is so important, it's kind of secondary really, because we're all there to sort of in memory of this great man, and get a lot of people there from the industry that you don't normally see. We always used to have trade shows and trade events where everyone comes together, the old Stoneleigh shows and stuff like that. But that's all gone now. So you can go years without bumping into these trade people, and whereas something like this gets us all together, which is really nice. And yeah, it's just a great event, and long may it continue. So yeah, well done to John on that big win. I'm sure he was well. I mean, he had £200. So again, I think he caught most of his fish mugging, waggler and pole, peg 4 on late 1, which is a good peg to be fair. But he made the most of it, as he always does, John. He is a great angler. So well done to John. And well done to everyone else who picked up a bit of coin as well. And well done to everyone who just came along and threw some money in that bucket for Macmillan Cancer as well. So thanks everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And we'll see you again on the next video.